they teach you this beautiful lesson that, you know, like to embrace the divinity within ourselves, we need to also look into our darkness and our shadow aspect and come to peace with our shadow self. And yeah, working with Goddess Isis has definitely taught me that.
Welcome to Trujectory, the podcast committed to helping you align with who you really are, your true self. The one who is so comfortable with their uniqueness, so in love with life, and so effortlessly able to manifest everything they always dreamt of. I want this podcast to be a resource to help you jump into the driver's seat rather than continuing as a passenger in your own story. Let's understand why we choose to hold ourselves back so we can shed the lies that we've programmed into our minds. We can heal the root causes and step into the epic human that we know we can be. If you're ready to start aligning with your trajectory, let's do it. Welcome everybody to today's episode. We have the incredible and inspiring Sara Samji, one of my favorite humans. She is such a genuine, just warmth. She's like a blanket, like in human form, and it's so amazing. So thank you for being here, Sara. Thank you so much. Welcome.
Thank you, Sarah. This has just been so incredibly beautiful opportunity to come here and sit down and, you know, just have a genuine chat and just share our experiences, and it's just a beautiful thing, and I'm really honored.
Honestly,
thank you.
I'm honored. I'm grateful for your time, because I know time is precious, and you have so many things going on, and you've got a beautiful little bubba as well who keeps you very busy. Mm-hmm. So you've got a little bit of free time today. I know, right? She's almost 3.
I know. Yeah, she's 3. She's almost 3.5.
She's
now.
3 already.
Yeah, time's got flying.
Yeah. Gosh. That's incredible. So, I mean, there are so many things that I want to talk about with you. This podcast is generally showing people who have stepped into their purpose work, who have followed their inner calling, who are doing the things they love that light them up. And you are doing so many different things that I want to get into. But the other thing that you do, which does link into all of the work that you do, is that you're a very gifted channel psychic. You're a communicator with the divine. You get information in all sorts of ways. You've done a reading for me. I'll never forget when you did a reading for me. I was still so newbie to it, and I didn't understand what you were saying. You were going to do a proper reading for me, which is what you did, and I thought it was some sort of, you know, energy healing or something. So I was like, I'll just lay down on my side, and you were like, do you want a video so we can see each other? And I'm like, it's okay, I'll just lay down. And in the end, I came back and you gave me a call, and you're like, okay, so this person came through, this is what they said for you, this is what they wanted you to know. I'm like, okay, I just missed out on that, sorry. But it was still such a powerful reading, and you just confirmed so many questions that I had from just that. And so even when people aren't, you know, presently sitting with you, you can still tap into their energy field. And I know a lot of people are waking up and understanding the innate powers that we all have, but there's still, you know, a large portion of the population that haven't tapped into this at all and don't necessarily even believe it exists. So I'd love to just blow their minds a little bit. Can you first tell us what it is that you do in terms of, you know, your unique gifts and what that feels like? Are you channeling? Are you psychic? What's the difference? Like, just give us a little bit of a rundown if you can. 50 questions, you're welcome.
So, as talking about the psychic part of, you know, like the stuff that I do, I kind of believe that I've always been a psychic since I was a young child. I used to see shadow people, like when I was young, you know, like different figurines that would scare me quite a lot. And then prophetic dreams as well. Like I kind of remember a couple of dreams that have come true, and there was time that I completely blocked it out, and until my cousin passed away in 2014, and then my world was turned upside down, and then I started having this what's that word? Crisis, like, you know, like what
existential, yeah, I can barely say that.
Slurring. So I kind of was looking for answers, you know, within myself. Mm-hmm. What is this reality? And then I started to go within, started meditating, started to really And when you start meditating, you kind of block, all those distortions in your mind. And then when you are so inwards, you start to hear that inner voice. You might call it a higher self or spirit guide, whatever you want to, right? But you do connect to that divine part of yourself that kind of guides you along through the way, gives you information. And then we did Channeling Spirit Academy together, 2019. So
Yep.
that, yeah, with Athena. So that kind of opened my eyes to how to anchor in my body, my mind, and then really, have this foundation to properly channel. So psychic would be getting information, or like sometimes when I'm sleeping, I get woken up by the spirit saying, oh, wake up, this is a message for something. But
Wow.
channeling is like having an intention, sitting down, having an intention of what you want to, what information you want to bring.
Hmm.
And then you kind of tap into that dimension, and then you kind of get that guidance for yourself and for others. Yeah, so it's kind of been a really long journey for me to kind of embody all the different things that I have been doing now. And yeah, this was definitely not planned. It's kind of happened. So yeah, it's interesting.
It's so incredible. I love the fact that you are aware now that you were tapping into this when you were a lot younger. And
Hmm.
I think we know that children in general are already innately tapped in. They
Hmm.
have a lot stronger of a connection with the other realms, with other dimensions, with
Hmm.
non-physical beings. And, that's why half the time they're running around having imaginary, supposed games with these beings. And very quickly, adults who just, they don't mean to, they don't know any better, shut those ideas down and they sort of say, that's not real, wake up to yourself.
Hmm.
That's all fake.
Yeah.
And so the fact that you can remember those times when you used to see beings and things like that in your room, that's incredible.
Hmm.
I'm really curious, something I'm curious about, because I mean, everyone channels in different ways, right? And my form of channeling comes a lot more through speaking. And when I'm speaking on certain topics, all of a sudden it's like I'll be pushed aside and then this energy will come through and it's like bam, 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 bam. And I couldn't mess up a word if I tried. That may
Hmm.
not be happening right now, but it happens to me at times. And that's when I go, oh, okay, this is what I'm meant to do. And this is another reason why I've stepped into this line of work, because I knew that there was this calling to be speaking a little bit more. And it comes through my art as well. When I have a really quick, sudden inspiration to do an art piece or music or something will just hit me, I have to get it down. And that's sort of what I've been told and what I understand is my way of channeling. When it comes to you, we're not just talking about, a feeling inside or anything. You actually have the ability to connect with specific beings and
Hmm.
you can determine the difference between them. So I'd love a little bit of insight. And for anyone listening as well, Sarah's in an area in Sydney right under the airport. So that's what you can hear in the background, all the
Another
it's
one.
the nice ambiance of planes. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's very calming. It's like a sound effect. It's like waves. Very nice, very nice.
Hmm.
So yeah, could you give me a little bit of an insight as to what it feels like to you or what you see? Are you clairvoyant or are you more, clairsentient where you feel rather than see? But what is it like when you sit down with a client and you do an Akashic reading? And what is the Akashic Records for anyone who doesn't know?
So, Akashic Records is a collection of information. So, I would kind of, in layman's terms, I would consider it a giant computer of information, with the motherboard, hard drive, everything. Like, you have all the information right there of all the sentient beings of all times, all in one. So it's a dimension that I think it's eighth dimension or ninth dimension, and then you can tap into it where you. The first thing I'll tell you, the first encounter, like where I encountered the Akashic Records, was when I did a psilocybin journey.
Amazing.
I was very lost.
Psilocybin,
I
so mushrooms.
Psilocybin mushrooms, yeah. So a
Okay.
very beautiful sister, Suvi, he held space for me, and I was at that time I was very I was depressed. I was going through postpartum depression after my daughter. I was very lost. I didn't know what to do. I had quit my job, like after COVID as well. I didn't want to go back. I was supposed to be a dietitian, and I didn't want to pursue that career because there were so many triggers. And for a year and a half, I did nannying just to kind of get my head around, like, what am I going to do? What's my next step? And then after I had the baby and the COVID, I just didn't know what to do, and I felt so lost. And I think I was also trying to get my head around, like, my old life and my new life as a mother, how to kind of come in terms of being a mother to a very, very expressive child.
Powerful, very powerful.
She is sassy.
Yeah.
But and then I did this psilocybin journey I was called to do, and I sat there, and then I had the intention, can you please show me the way, can you guide me? Psilocybin journey, if you have the intention, the spirit of the mushroom, they show you, like whatever your intention is in that journey, they will show you. So I was taken into this dimension where it was like a spiral of information, and then I was in the middle looking at this vast collection of information, and I was greeted by a couple of Akashic guides there. And then when I went into my own records, Thoth came forward, and then he said that he's going to be guiding me from that moment on. And then he gave me a key. And I didn't know what it was about. Like, I was like, well, what is this? And, when you come out of a journey, like, you're all high, really euphoric. And I wrote down everything, but I was like, okay, I'm just going to try, like, I don't know how to start. I don't know what to do, but I'm just going to sit with myself, meditate, and just go inwards. So when I started meditating, I always had the intention of going into the Akashic Records. And anyone can do it, really. Everyone has their own, like Akashic Records. Anyone can do it. The most important thing is intention, that you want to get the guidance through the Akashic Records and meet your Akashic guides. And so I started going into the Akashic Records and started channeling guidance for myself about my path, about my purpose. And it has been a long journey. Like, there are moments where, like, I don't know what I'm doing, what, is going to happen in 6 months, and so many revelations and so many, aha moments along the way. But all you need to do is have faith and trust in the divine that everything's going to work out in the end. And we are just here having an experience and having, to learn about our lives. So there is no attachment of like, oh, what I want to know, but there is like if there is any guidance for me, that's fine. And I'm just gonna, let go of that attachment. So that helped me to really, really, deepen my connection to the Akashic Records. And sorry, what was the question again? The other question.
No, that's okay. So the other part, I know, will I ask you like 50 at a time? Sorry, I get too excited. So the other part of the question was, what is the experience like for you when you sit with a client and you tap into the Akashic Records? So you're talking to Thoth, who is, how would you describe him? He's the ibis head Egyptian deity.
Yes.
Who, he's the record keeper.
Yeah, apparently he was the one who wrote the Emerald Tablets, the
right.
Gnostic texts, and the other occult, like the Emerald Tablets is also going into occult sciences and the forbidden knowledge, really, like what, in the ancient texts, the Sumerian texts. And he's known by different names throughout the civilizations. Hermes, Ibis, represented by Ibis, Thoth, Yehudi, so many names, but he's the same. He's an Atlantean priest. So he was an Atlantean priest, came to Egypt, and then gave the information to build all the pyramids, and started to. So he's a god of wisdom, really. And
That's
all
right.
these, like all the wisdom, all the knowledge that he holds the key of the Akashic Records. So if you want to, start exploring the Akashic Records, you can start an intention setting with Thoth.
Okay, so you sort of set the intention to call out to him and get him to come to you in meditation.
Yeah,
Okay.
so when I deal with a client, like, so we have a call, and then we set an intention. So I sit down, like I take 15 minutes prior to the session to sit down, and because I ask for permission beforehand, right? So I can open up the Akashic Records, and then I write down whatever comes to me, like really, really quickly. And when our session proceeds, they have questions, and I just tap in, and then he brings out their, like a soul blueprint in a holographic form, and then I just perceive information through codes and like different. Sometimes there might be, I get information, I hear information. Sometimes I see visuals. Sometimes I just feel the emotions. It's always different. Like everyone is different, but the process is the same. Like I open up the channel, and then I perceive the information, write it down, and then I work with the client if they have any questions. So it's kind of like a little chat that I have, and then I become like a medium for the client and their team.
Incredible. And how do you decipher the differences between different entities or beings or spirits? Or, I know you've dealt with Mary Magdalene, you've dealt with Thoth, obviously, there's many others. Is it visual for you? Are you Are you seeing it? Oh, that's amazing.
I'm seeing it. I see it and I feel
incredible.
it. Or sometimes if it's there, I have experiences of like me, just if I call in or if I sense the energy, and then it's so bright within my mind's eye that I can't even perceive who it is, and I have to ask, "Who are you?" And
Yeah. And I know you've actually, you're a very talented artist, and we'll get into that shortly, but you did a piece where you tried to visually represent what you see when you work with goddess Isis, who is a very, infamous Egyptian goddess. And what I saw was exactly like you've described. It was sort of like just so much light coming out of her. You can't necessarily discern facial features or anything like that. It's just this being, this presence, and it's like a sun in physical form type thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's incredible.
And it's beautiful trying to decipher the light. And they are shadow aspects of the deities as well, that it's not just light, especially when you deal with deities. They are shadow aspect, and they are this manifestation of light and dark, and then they teach this beautiful lesson that we need to come in unison. Oh my God.
Ralph has just popped his head up to say hello. He's like, I want to talk to the goddesses. Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you saying? The shadow aspect?
So they teach you this beautiful lesson that, like to embrace the divinity within ourselves. We need to also look into our darkness and our shadow aspect and come to peace with our shadow self. And working with Goddess Isis has definitely taught me that.
Okay, now Ralph's going to play the piano for us. For anyone not watching the video and just listening, my cat, my beautiful boy, has just decided to jump on the piano, and he's very close to turning on the on switch. He's figured out where it is.
Oh,
and
really?
so you might hear some tunes very soon. Yeah, I'll just be working away and I'll hear this bam, bam, bam. He's talented. You're talented. I love
Just
you.
like his mummy.
Okay. I'm trying to match his skill level. Oh my gosh, he's a hard act to follow. So let's get into some of the amazing gifts that have come out of this ability. So you've done your work, you realized that you were a bit lost, and you've really put in the work and the time to heal yourself and to understand what you're capable of. And now that you've done that, all of your gifts, you're a musician, you're an artist, you're a shaman, sort of, I believe. I need to probably get more clarification on what exactly a shaman is, but you're creating elixirs, salves, and I mean, these products, I've been using them a lot. I had splits all over my feet when I moved back here home to Canberra because it's very cold here, and you saved me, so thank you for that, my love. But how did that start to come through? Did you sort of start to get, advice about, hey, Sara, it's time for you to start making some things? Or were you just sort of sitting down and it comes through more naturally? Like, what was that process?
So I remember one day I was working with, crystals and the grids for myself one day. And then this is when we just finished our Isis car modality, and
Okay.
the first one. So I started to really, build my connection to Goddess Isis and really start the path of devotion to myself and to her. So I was like, how can I um, give an offering to you so that could help me, build this channel of connection, so you can lift up your veil to me, right? So there's always, if you work with Goddess Isis, or if you know Goddess Isis, or you consider yourself a priestess, some people might know that there is always a veil. And she doesn't come out, without a veil. There's always veiled. And for me, it took some time for her to lift that veil. And she kind of guided me to work with oils. And then when I was meditating one day, when I was asking, okay, how can I build this channel? And she showed me this anointing oil in a pool of, it was a pool of anointing oil. And then I emerged out of it. And I was like, okay, so let me just create for myself and see what it does. And then I started to ask the plant spirit to give me guidance. And then the plant spirit was telling me, okay, work with this. And then I use a lot of pendulum work to confirm the energy, to discern the energy, right? So I started to get the vibration of the plant spirit and then see if it matches Goddess Isis. So I started to get blue lotus, rose, other herbs, and then I started to macerate the oil for a certain amount of days with certain.
Sorry, what does that mean? Macerate? What does that
Macerate
mean?
is it's infusion. It's infusion of the
Oh,
oil.
okay.
So it's pretty easy. Like if you want to make, say blue lotus oil or rose oil, like you just put the certain amount of gram of herb, and then you put your carrier oil. You set it out in the sun, or if you have like a machine, you can infuse that as well. But I was told a certain amount of days. And then she also used to kind of come and whisper in my ear about like using certain type of crystals to enhance the properties of the plant spirit. So I started to work with the crystal and the herbs and make these elixir. And then when I started to use it before meditation, or while I was kind of going back into my body, it just dropped me into this state of bliss. And I was like, oh my God, I really need to start making this for people who want to build their connection back into their body and back with the Divine Mother, so she can guide in, whether that be self-love or self-care or even like feeling beautiful. And when you have that right oil and then you kind of put it on your body, it just has these properties to really change your vibration, to change your electromagnetic field, right? And then I also did a course, biogeometry course, and then there are certain
Yeah, I wanted to
principles that
ask
you
about
can
that.
use. Yeah, you can use certain principles like, say, rotation, numbers, angles, and there are certain grids that you can do, and use crystals to enhance everything, so it becomes like a potent medicine, like a potent elixir. And you can check the vibration of the oil, and then you can go grab a generic body oil from a shop, and then you can check it on a scale, and you can see the difference that it does to your body, it does to your aura. So that got me really, really intrigued. And then I started making all these things. And I'm very crafty. I used to make, I love making stuff for myself and my family. So yeah, that was fun for me. It was a little, fun project.
That's incredible. And I love the fact that oh, we've got Ralph jumping up on the couch now. Good on you, boy. He's trying to take over. Come on. Sheesh, give me one moment to shine,
Yeah.
Ralph.
He's like, Auntie Sarah,
Um,
look at me.
yeah, come on, look. Um, I love that you have put so much, you've studied so much around this, and you have, like you're saying with biogeometry, which still goes way over my head. I've asked you, we have 2 other mutual friends who have done this course with you, and I've asked them both several times to explain it to me, and they do, and it all comes out very coherently, and yet I still struggle to grasp what exactly it is. But could you try it? Maybe our listeners will be better at taking in this info. Could you give us a brief rundown of what biogeometry is? Because this is the sort of science that you're putting behind all of the things that you do. And I'd just love to get a bit more of an understanding.
Okay, I'll just put it very, very simple layman terms. Biogeometry is a scientific vibrational science created by Dr. Ibrahim Karim, who used to be an architect, and then he started to learn about these Egyptian modalities, and combining French radiesthesia and the ancient Egyptian principles, he created this testing system. Okay, so it uses it's like a energy testing system that goes to test your biology, like your environment, and it kind of balances everything and creates harmony within your environment, your body, and the stuff that you have around yourself. That means your products or like your home. There's so many ways of explaining this, but in general, it's just a very, a testing system that creates harmony within your body, within your life, so you can live your best life.
That is a great explanation. I really like that. I think I'm actually grasping it, and I'm imagining this helps for EMF, electromagnetic frequency, all of that sort of thing.
Anything organic, anything organic, yeah.
Okay, so amazing.
It can test the resonance of anything organic, and then you can check within your own body's vibration, and then you can see if it aligns with your body, if it does harm or if it does good. So you can test anything.
Okay, that's incredible. Wow. So I wonder how much of this, because you are Nepalese, yes?
Yes.
So how much of these gifts do you believe have come through your ancestral lineage? Because Nepal, Tibet, surrounding the Himalayas, they're such sacred spaces. Nepal's still known as one of the most sacred places in the world. How do you feel? I know you've recently been there. How many times have you been there?
Well, I was born there.
Oh, you were born there?
Yeah,
oh my gosh. How
Yeah.
old were you when you moved to Australia?
17, 18, I think 18, yeah.
Oh, geez. Okay, so you had a whole life there beforehand.
Yeah.
No wonder you're so connected. So what is the experience like when you go back there now, when you've sort of harnessed all of your abilities and you're really well and truly on your path in your purpose work? What's it like when you go back there?
So Nepal is called a land of, how do I translate it? It's called Tapobhumi. Tapobhumi is a land of meditation where saints and ascended masters used to go to that land to get enlightenment. So it's very, very sacred, very, very powerful. And I did a massive pilgrimage when I went back to a place called Mustang or Muktinath, where people used to go there or still go there to cleanse of all the karma from the previous lifetime so they can attain nirvana or enlightenment, right? So like going back home, it made me realize that my lineage or my ancestors had such a big part of who I am. And when I was growing up, obviously, like every teenager, I rebelled, and I didn't want to know anything. I didn't want to be part of any rituals or any, like ceremonies that happened in my house or any of my relatives' house. But like when I went there, recently, I just felt so connected to the Divine Mother. Like everywhere, especially in Kathmandu, when you go there, every suburb has like 5 or 6 temples. And the reason behind they built so many temples is that the ancient kings, they didn't want people to disassociate their lives with the material, with the matrix. They always wanted to bring the divine. So every moment you live is part of that, divine living, like spirit led. So when I went there and when I was going to the temples, I just felt so activated and I felt so blessed. Yeah, the experience was mad. It was crazy. And the synchronicities, my God, everywhere we went, there's certain temples which, they're closed at certain times. It depends of if, like they are doing some rituals. And Nepalese temples and culture, it's very tantra based. The indigenous people in the valley, they are very, like they rituals or like the culture is very tantra based. So there are specific ways of devotion to the goddess, and everything is very divine feminine in Nepal. So I just felt, so connected to the Divine Mother. Yeah.
That's incredible. And you brought me back this beautiful shirt, which is like the most comfortable shirt I have. I'm trying not to turn it into a bedtime shirt because it's just like got that vibe, but I want it to see the light of day. So letting it out a little bit. It's incredible, honestly. I mean, everyone's journey is so different, right? When you start to realize there's a lot more than what meets the eye in this reality. And you're just one of those people who have sort of been there to answer a lot of my questions as I've come up, because there's but for a long time, probably until only about 6 months ago, there was a lot of skepticism in me because everyone has these different intuitive gifts, right? So all the clairsenses, for people who don't know, I won't go into detail, but some are, clairvoyant is seeing, clairaudient is hearing, claircognizant is knowing. So a clear seeing sort of thing is what you can do. You're very visual. And I know a lot of people that have taught me a lot of the things that I can do now are quite visual as well. And so it is hard sometimes, or it was for me, to make peace with the fact that I'm not necessarily going to see all of these things that are happening. And so for me, ways that I get confirmation are, like you've said, through synchronicities, or if I'm asking a question about something and I ask my team, show me very clearly today 3 times if this is a yes or a no, or whatever the question may be, I will get the answer in very amazing ways. And that's when it becomes fun, because it's kind of like, well, what's going to come up? And you got to just keep your eyes open and be willing to receive whatever's going on. But it's just, it's really, I'm very grateful to you for all of the advice and help that you've given me along my journey. I still feel like a baby in the awakening world, and my abilities are growing every day as well. But like I said, in different ways, and it definitely comes through my art and speaking and other things like that. But with you are so multi-talented. So I want to start understanding. So for people who are trying to step into their passion, the work that lights them up, they're sort of maybe sitting in a job that they're really not happy with, going, I don't want people to have that mentality of only some people get to live the life they want. I want everyone to know, no, you can. It's just a choice you've got to make. And there's some, here are some tips from some people who are already doing it. So from your perspective, when you have so many different passions and talents, how did you start with one thing? Was it the artwork that started you off, or was it the salves? How did you sort of start to, crystallize that?
So it was artwork for me. I've always been, a fan of like painting. Even when I was young, I used to just grab myself like watercolors and draw, like Disney characters. I remember in the sun, like in winter vacation, really, really cold. So we used to all, hang out outside in the terrace. And the first thing I used to do is grab my drawing pad, and then I used to go and make mermaids, the little mermaid Ariel and the whole tribe of her sisters and like everything. And it used to give me so much joy. And also, like, I used to, because my drawing pad would be filled with all these characters. And then growing up, like, my parents didn't always encourage me to follow, whatever I want to do. They never told me no. They never told me you can't do it. It just, like, I think that helped quite a lot for me. But there was one time where I just completely stopped doing artwork and expressing myself. They always encouraged me to express myself through my artwork.
They did, okay.
Or through writing. Because my dad's very talented as well. He used to write music. He sings. He, he writes like really great articles. He has a book published. So I think I kind of get that, from my father. And my brother's very musical as well. Like, I learned music by looking at my cousin play guitar, and then I picked it up myself. So I always have been encouraged to express myself. But I think when I moved here, around 17, 18 years old, I just didn't have the time to do anything that made my soul happy. You know, that feeling that you just like, oh, I just feel so good because I created something. Or like, look at this beautiful painting that I did. Or look at, you know, like when you sit down and play instrument that you love, that joy that you get, you know. Like, I think making yourself a little bit, like putting some time aside for yourself to create or do something for yourself and make it a habit. For me, like, I didn't get to do for a certain amount of time, and then I feel like that kind of blocked me to, you know, live my greatest life, you know, with freedom and with passion. And then I was stuck in a 9-to-5 job. I was stuck doing things that didn't bring me joy. And then once I started to take plant medicine, they kind of told me, go into your garage and get your box full of your art supplies and start drawing again. Because I used to do some charcoal drawings in the drawing pad when I had time, and I completely stopped, because I was just stuck in this rut of going to job, 2-3 jobs, going to uni, you know, like trying to get everything sorted in my life, and I just didn't have any time. And then when I started doing the artwork, even if it's, you know, just a simple watercolor flow for 10 minutes, it just, my heart was like, oh my God, why didn't I do this before? It was like a therapy for me. And then after, like, you know, going through that depression, after having my daughter, I started to dedicate myself, like, to doing at least half an hour of art flow, whether that be watercolor or like a little sketch, and then when slowly I started to draw these codes I used to see in my meditations, and then I used to draw them, you know, like how I used to see in black background but in a gold setting. So I started that, and then I started to experiment quite a lot, and then yeah, like now I just dedicate a little bit of time every single day to do a little bit of art every single day, and that is my therapy for my mental health. Yeah, because I know how, you know, how extreme mental health can get, like, if you let that control your life. And for me, art is my therapy, and letting my emotions and then out through artwork, through music, through my creation, my craft, anything that I do is helping myself. And if it helps others as well, that's another bonus.
Yes. Oh, I love that. I love that so much. Like you just said at the end, your focus needs to be on helping yourself and becoming the brightest version of you can be, right? Because otherwise everything that you're doing for other people, including your family, including your daughter, is not going to be giving them 100% capacity of your abilities, because you're drained, because you're not feeding your own passion, your own fire. And I think so many people sort of put passion in the category of optional
Hobby.
and
Hobby,
non-necessity.
even,
Just a hobby. But like you said, you're doing it every single day. I find that really inspiring. And I know similar to you, I only was able to really tap into my art abilities when I was at my lowest as well. And I think obviously everyone goes through their ups and downs, but I don't think everyone needs to wait until that point to, you know, start to unleash these abilities. But for me, one thing that really had to change was I needed more patience. I was very hard on myself. So if I was trying to create a piece of art and it wasn't perfect, or it wasn't exactly what I had in my mind, then I would sort of beat myself up a little bit and go, oh, it's not worth it. Oh, you're never going to be good enough. And all of the fun things that we decide to tell ourselves that just aren't true. But when I was brought to a point where physically, mentally, I wasn't capable of doing much in a day, I was really, you know, very at a low point. That's when I had the patience to go, you know what, even if I just do a tiny little bit a day, like you're saying, whatever comes out is what's meant to come out, and I'm just going to let it be. And suddenly the upgrades that I had in my painting abilities blew my mind. And still to this day, I look at my paintings and go, did I do that? Are you sure? Because it's like, Oh, okay. It was like over a period of, it seemed like overnight. It was just like once this mentality shift happened, and it was like, just be kind to yourself and have the patience and the consistency. Do it often, do it every day if you can. It just absolutely changed everything. And so I love seeing what you do, because you have incorporated all of the things that you love into your work, which is, you know, I don't know if there's a new word for work, or if we just shift the mindset on the word work, but
Passion. Yeah.
that's what it is. Yeah,
Everything is a passion,
exactly. It's just,
right?
that's all it is. So you're just playing
Yeah.
every day, and that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So how do you maintain consistency on days that you might not feel like you're up for it? I know you're very good at listening to your emotions, which is a gift that not a lot of us have. If we sort of keep pushing ourselves, sometimes that can really lead us down into a shitty place. So what do you do if you're sort of, you know, I need to make this many products, I have this many readings, and my energy's low? What's sort of your protocol there?
I'm just honest with myself because I am a projector in human design. So projectors are the energy types who need quite a bit of rest because they are, you know, the aura is so magnetic, and if I have something to do, I'll give it 1,000%. And if it's not the right time or I'm not feeling the best, it's probably best that I take a day off and then I come back to it tomorrow and not be hard on myself. And that is the biggest thing for me, like I have learned recently, is not to feel guilty that everything can wait. You know, if you are not 100%, like that will show in your work. And also this kind of makes me realize about you know, the Buddhist monk who make the mandalas, the lamas who make the Thangka paintings, the Buddhist, you know, paintings in Nepal. When I was having a chat with one of the monks when I went back home, I kind of said, like, can you tell me the process of making the Thangka painting? And he also mentioned that, you know, like you need to be in the right state of mind to do the painting, to get the downloads, to get everything correct, because your hand or your brushstrokes are the transference of energy through your heart, right? Through your, like you channel this, you go into this trance state when you are doing something and focusing your mind on something. And if you are not in that right frequency, it transfers into your work, whether that be food, like you're in a shitty mood and then you cook a meal, like, and then you're like, oh, this is not doesn't taste good because there's no love, right? And then if you do something out of spite or out of that bitterness, like people know that, you know, your heart's not there. So I just, you know, if I'm not in that state, or if I feel that, oh, I'm in one of those days, I just be honest with the client saying, hey, you know, I'm not feeling this way. If, you know, they booked a reading, I'm like, is it okay that we reschedule? And with the artwork, I always, you know, let the artwork guide me rather than me pushing to finish the project. So yeah, I just listen to that. Like if I am not feeling 100%, I just take a little bit of break.
Good on you. It's so important that we don't run ourselves into the ground. I've definitely been there. I was an expert at doing way too many things that I should have just taken a break, but then my body forced me to take a break, so that was great. Let's try to avoid getting to that point, people. Let's try and make the call yourself. So I just also want to know, you're such a Zen vibe. Like you're just such a Zen personality, which I absolutely love about you, but you're also a powerhouse. And I think that is just such an incredible balance. What is it that you do, and do you even do anything to cultivate your confidence, to keep that you're backing yourself? Like with all the things you're doing, you constantly have to be having confidence in yourself, having faith in yourself. Like, is there anything, were you always like this? Were you always able to just, here's the thing, I'm moving for it? Or did you have to go through a bit of a process to find that confidence?
Definitely a process. It's been a long journey because, you know, there were times that I didn't believe that I could live my life, you know, like this, doing what I love and helping people and just, you know, being free, like not being bound to 9 to 5 job or working for someone that I don't really necessarily want to work, you know, for. So I have been reading this book called The Artist Way. And one thing that I really took out of that book was in the morning, as soon as I wake up, like, because I have a daughter, I have a really, like a 3-year-old who really wants my attention constantly. I give myself 5 to 10 minutes where I tell my husband to look after my daughter, and then I fill at least 3 pages of, a journal, however small, big, the journal might be. And if I don't have anything to write, I just write, don't have anything to write, but like whatever is going in my mind, I just dump it out there. So like, I don't have anything that's kind of bugging me or like holding on to me saying, oh, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this. I just dump everything, every emotions in those pages, and then I move on. And then I feel like that kind of creates like a blank slate for my day. And then I give, after my daughter leaves to go to daycare, I give myself some time, like for a slow morning. So I make myself a nice drink, or I sit down and do a couple of minutes of meditation, or if I want to, go in my balcony and do a little bit of skipping or anything, or go in the trampoline and jump, anything, just to kind of keep my body moving. Yeah, exactly. And then, and the day starts, and then I ease into it. I don't go like, oh, I have to do this, I have to do this. I found that doing that gets my cortisol so high that I'm always in that flight or flight state. And I've really started to listen to my body and resting when I need. And then when I feel that, oh, this creative energy just come in, I just work, and then just go with the flow, really. Like, don't be hard on myself. And this has been a long process for me. Like, over the years, I've really started to listen to myself and be kind to myself.
That's so important. I love that. I really like the tip of in the mornings dumping it all out on paper, just like clearing all the stagnant everything that's going on and just starting fresh. I love that. Wow.
Everyone should read that book. That book is insane. It's really good.
Yeah. The Artist's Way.
The Artist's Way.
Okay.
You have an Audible version as well if you just want to listen.
Nice. I do love a good Audible. I've only just recently started reading actual physical books again in the last year and a half, but previous to that, as soon as I started waking up, I wanted to know everything. I wanted to digest so much information, but I couldn't. I was too high energy to sit still, and I would like find myself when I'm reading a page, I'd be thinking something completely different, and I'm like, I didn't read a single word on that page, even though my eyes skimmed over it. Like, this is ridiculous. So Audible really saved me, because it meant I would go for a walk, so I'd be getting some exercise, I'd be getting out in nature, and I'm learning something. So highly recommend Audible if people aren't already on that. It's been a game changer for me. We're going to start to wrap up, my love, but I would love to know what advice you have for anyone who, we know now that you used to be in the position where you had a job that you really didn't like. What advice would you have for people who are in that position now, who are thinking, I know there's more out there for me, but I just don't know where to start?
If people, want to kind of like start something small, like I truly would, because the fear really gets in, the doubt really, comes to play. If you're doing a part-time job, keep that part-time job where you feel that security, and slowly ease into what you want to do. And then when you feel comfortable that, like you want to make your business grow, or you want to take that big leap of faith, then you can start to quit your job, and then you can start on building your own little business, or whatever you want to do. Because there's different factors, like with economy, like being as is at the moment, like it's crazy expensive everywhere. People need that security, and I completely understand. And I did the same thing. Like I was working, doing nannying, and then and after COVID I had no choice but to completely quit my job, and then I had to find something to do for myself as a hobby, right? And then I slowly eased into it. But most of the people, would, if they started with keeping their part-time job and then slowly easing into what they want to do, I think that would be a a better process, and it would be easier on themselves as well. And to always listen to your heart, always listen to your heart, always listen to your gut instinct. If something feels right, it probably is right. You know, if something is fishy, probably is fishy. So yeah, listen to yourself, listen to your inner voice, inner guidance, and meditation really helps. To 5 minutes every day. You don't have to do half an hour, 2 minutes even. Put a timer. Yeah, that really changed my life.
Same here. And it took me so long of hearing so many people say, just meditate, just meditate. And I was like, what is this meditation thing? I get so bored and I get restless. And honestly, do it. Do it, people. Like Sara said, take your time, make it like short little stints if it needs to be each day, just to start with. But you'll start to notice so many subtle changes that will then compound and build, and you'll start to realize that you're moving through every single day with more confidence and more flow, and you're not feeling like you're just running uphill all the time. And a lot of it all comes down to the fact that a lot of us don't know who we are or what we want, and that's the sort of work that I want to help people with, because it's so important, and it's everything, right? And yet it's so overlooked. It's like the passions thing. It's just in the one day maybe bin. Whereas you're walking around every day not knowing who is truly inside here, what power you possess, what passions you have inside that could potentially create an entire career for you that might not only just help you, but it might help other people as well, which is just a bonus on top of everything. But putting yourself first is definitely huge, and I love that about you. You've been a big inspiration for me. I've sort of gone through many phases where I've felt, even when I've had time to myself, I've still felt pressured. It takes me a long time, or it took me a long time to unwind from work. Even when I'd have, a 3-week holiday, it would take, and I know this is the same for many people, it would take 2.5 weeks to unwind. And then you're finally starting to relax, and then you're back to work. And you're like, oh my God, it's starting all over again. And so trying to find, instead of waiting for holidays, trying to find a little bit of a holiday in every day, and it could be 5 minutes, but I think that's absolutely a game changer. Good call. So for anyone who wants to work with this talented lady, and there are so many different things that you can do and receive from her. She does incredible artwork, which isn't just painting. It's also, what would you call it? It's electric, technical term.
So it would be a representation of your true essence, your soul essence, and then I just physicalize it in an art form, so you can, every time you look at it, when it's in your space, it activates you and to your soul remembrance and to the potential power you possess inside you, to align you with the divinity that you have, everyone possesses. So yeah, it's a very special thing.
That is incredible. And when you see these artworks, you will be like, oh my gosh, I need one. But just hearing that, the way you describe it, that's so powerful. I mean, having like your inner self, your true essence as your North Star that you look at every single day, and you're heading towards that, is such a great way to manifest that reality, is to bring you into who you truly are. So that would be an amazing, incredible tool. You also do the Akashic readings, and you create a range of products, healing salves, and all sorts of amazing things. Incense possibly on the way still? Is that in the works?
Still, yeah, I'm still working on it.
See how you feel.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I love it. It might be added, it might not. Not being hard on ourselves. Yeah, exactly. But if you do want to get in touch with Sara, her website is lightalchemy.com.au. So that's lightalchemy.com.au, or hit her up on Instagram, which is also Light Alchemy, I believe.
Light Alchemy, _ yeah. Light Alchemy, and there's a little underscore, yeah.
And an underscore.
At the end.
Incredible. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time, my dear. I appreciate you and all of your wisdom, and I'm excited for all of the things that you are creating. I can only imagine where you're going to be like 5 years from now, because the short time that you've created all of these amazing services and products is like, woo! And your Etsy page is on fire. So, yes, I'm excited.
Thank you, Sarah, for this opportunity to share my passion, and I'm really honored to be in your podcast, and you're doing such an amazing job. Thank you.
Thank you, my love. I'm just honored to be your friend. You're the best. You're the homie.
Me too.
And I'm going
Me
to see
too.
you soon. But for
Yay.
everyone listening, stay you, stay true, and we'll see you soon. Mwah.